Reflective Podcast.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Make sure I'm not on headphones. Test 1 2, test 1 2.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Hold on 1 second. Let me grab this tea. All right.
Well, let me get this pup inside, and he just disappeared on.
What do you think? Just gotta make sure that it's the right thing. You know, like how can I support something that I don't feel 100% about in my heart? You know, so I think that's the journey, and that's like where I've gotten to now, where I'm not willing to compromise on that anymore. It's like it's got to be fucking dialed, or I'm not gonna be able to fully give myself to it. You know, I'll just abandon it. So, and I think that ties into like a lot of my shame wounds and stuff from my childhood, where it's like I'm ashamed of something that I've done, so I like hide from it, or I like go this pattern of avoidance. You know, so I don't want to do things like that anymore. And the way to avoid it is to give everything that I have in that moment and be proud of the things that are coming through. So,
Man, well spoken. And the subconscious, unless that shadow's integrated, I've ran into this as well. It'll manufacture situations to be shameful about or to feel guilty about, because it's a neural pathway it's basically just looking for the confirmation that it's unworthy of love, and it's just looking for another location to see that same reflection in the mirror.
yeah, and that's in some way, it is a way of keeping us safe. Like the ego's like way of trying to keep us safe. You know, which is a very
in the known.
Yeah, right, exactly.
In the familiar environment, even if it's a toxic environment.
Right. Trippy. Like people that quit smoking cigarettes get really sick. You know, it's very strange.
Yeah.
Very, very strange.
Yeah, exactly.
So hoops.
Which I just opened my phone. I don't know if this is a good example of the internet just listening to you, but I've never seen slam ball. I remember when it first came out.
Slam ball.
Do you remember when this came out?
No, bruh. I don't even know anything about it. Oh my gosh, it looks insane, dude.
It's like rugby basketball.
Whoa. And they're hooping. They're like,
but with trampolines and like football level collision.
Wow, that's insane, dude. Oh my gosh, these boys are getting
really, really dangerous. But look at this type of shit, is crazy.
That's cool.
It's basically like every kid who was ever on a trampoline's like fantasy.
That's NBA Jam shit right there, dude.
Basically, real life NBA Jam. If you're under 5 foot
That's right.
and you never were gonna dunk,
That's right. Yeah. Had some white boy knees, man, for sure.
yeah, just put some pads on and jump on a trampoline. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Which I think, as funny as this might seem, I feel like that's the kind of vibe that Kyrie and Luca are bringing right now. Is this the feeling of super high level basketball, but also with this playground NBA street kind of flair and like relaxed, plenty of the one-on-one fun stuff. But there's this one play that happened. I know you've seen it, where it's just like it led to the craziest alley oop. Literally, just type in Luca Kyrie, and one of the first words that comes up is alley oop.
Is it the one that Luca threw to Kai? Yeah.
Oh, that one's nuts.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
That one's super nuts.
And
But
you
no,
don't see you don't see Kai dunking. Like I think he's had the most dunks of his career in the season.
right. Well, so you were the one who spurred this. I'm excited to go wherever you want to go on this topic. I've been playing more basketball than I have in a long time lately, so I'm really actively loving it and also watching guys like these play and then kind of trying those kind of things. Especially like the slow-mo Euro and stuff that you've just never really seen highly executed like Luca's doing. But talk to me. Mavericks, basketball, life, inspiration, that Kyrie trailer.
Yeah. Well, I think I have been a an avid basketball lover since I was a child, since I was a very young child, and it was actually my first aspiration was to be a professional basketball player. It's like what it was my dream. It was like what I wanted. And I'm 5'8", 5'9" sometimes if I wear a right pair of shoes, but
Yeah, yeah.
and I can't really jump high. I mean, I'm fast as lightning, and I got handles, and I can score and I can pass the ball, but like it would never cut it in a league like that. You know what I'm saying? It's just not possible. And like especially nowadays, it's so much more competitive than it's ever been athletically, and it's just like these guys are on $1 million regimens every year for their bodies, and um, so like I had been dealing with all this stuff with my hands for the last decade, and I had to sort of put the ball down, and I had to like walk away from it, and it was my first love, man. I mean, I've always loved music, and music has always been a part of me, but it was never like an external thing. It was just always here. And hoops were just something that I could fully give myself to energetically and like wear myself out and leave everything out on the floor, and like feel good about it. And he tore up the next day, but just like really, really, I had a good friend named Coco who he and I used to just go one on one for hours, man. Like, like hours. You know what I'm saying? And he was like 6'3", retired ex-military, a great basketball player, and I would bust his ass a lot of times, and like, and I was a great hooper, and it really took a big toll on me. I didn't realize at the time because I was lost in the drug world and all my shame and all the stuff that I was dealing with then. But to put that ball down and then like to actually lose the ability to really play, it changed my relationship to hoops, and I just kind of like I love watching it when it was around, but like I kind of let it go. And this year has been a really massive spiritual awakening uh, portal for me. And I mean that there's a million reasons why, but essentially I've been following Kyrie Irving's story for a while because I think that he's just for one, he speaks his mind in a way that is unaccommodating to anyone else's belief system, and he is just like, this is what I experience, and this is what I want to say, and people, not even to mention his game, but I just saw the way that, especially in the time period we were in when he was talking about all the Black Israelite stuff and all the things that people had a lot of issue with, we were in a time where there was so much of that happening, where people were trying to cancel other people and shut down certain narratives, and with no investigation, essentially, just like this doesn't feel good to hear, so we're going to cut it out of the media, and we're going to attack anyone who's got this perspective. Um, And so I just saw the way that the league treated him. Maybe not even so much the league, but I saw the way his organization treated him. I saw the way that the media treated him, and I saw like what he was trying to represent and like what he was actually saying, and giving back to like his shoe company, giving back to indigenous native communities, and like him embracing his Navajo lineage, and all of these different facets of his being that he's like sort of awakening to, I guess, and really, really speaking on that and really living, standing in that, regardless of what the organization or anyone else wanted him to say. And I really had a tremendous amount of respect for that. And the Brooklyn Nets had a squad, a couple of years ago, and they had a team that could potentially have been in contention. And Kyrie was just not, he didn't care about any of that stuff. He was going to live the way that he wanted to live and the way that he wanted to speak. And so like he stood in that. And I think he found a team. He landed it in a place where it didn't seem that way at first. There were so many naysayers and everybody was talking smack about the team and that he and Luka couldn't communicate and they couldn't play on the same floor and effectively, and just all this stuff, and that's how all really great stories begin. It's that this can't happen, this can't work, this person's not this, and this person is that, and this and that, and as you see Kyrie doing his thing, you just sort of realize that that standing firm in your belief system, standing firm in who you are, is maybe the most important facet of, as you and I both know, of becoming, of stepping into a higher dimensional structure of self, and a higher dharmic structure, and a higher like service oriented, seva oriented structure of the self, is first knowing what you're not going to compromise on. And so like, long story short, I started watching hoops again this year, and started primarily tuning in post All-Star break. I mean, I was always watching the highlights and stuff like that, but I had a friend of mine who works down at a liquor store who's a Celtics fan, and he and I get into a conversation and talk shit every time I'm in the store getting some water or some CBD water or something like that. And he gave me this website called Stream East, and you can watch any NBA basketball game for free on stream sites. And so I started watching Mavs ball like religiously,
Wow.
and like cutting out space in my day and my like schedule and stuff to like spend time with this team and like really give myself energetically to it. And I think I really came online when, during Kyrie's last month, 2 months of him fasting for Ramadan, and the way that he was hooping and the way that like he was showing up for his team energetically, and just like there is this mystique around everything that they're doing. And I think that one of the biggest lessons for me this year has just been witnessing them become a team, witnessing them become a fully functioning like symbiotic organism, where the part of me that's watching the game, and there's like it's like the last shot of the game, or to tie it, and they pass it to Exum, and I'm like, we don't want him shooting the ball, but like
It makes it.
he makes the shot, and they're willing to like sacrifice that in order to build his confidence and his character and help him come to a higher consciousness structure with his belief system and himself as a player and as a facet of that organization. And I've seen them do it with so many different players on that team after the All-Star break, and I watch other games and stuff like that, and I don't feel that same energy when I watch the Mavs. Like I feel like they are really, really tapped into this deeply spiritual process of basketball right now. And even like watching Jason Kidd in interviews and stuff like that, and listening to him speak and articulate things, like I've just never heard a coach talk in a way that he does. And I feel so connected to him when he's speaking about the process and the team, and his gentleness, and he's calm, and like just a very, very, it's just from top to bottom, just a really beautiful organization. And it's given me faith, man. It's like I've literally had moments this season where I've been crying, watching them in the fourth quarter, and like watching some of the miracles that they've pulled out, and that lefty that Kyrie made over Jokic, like I was ecstatic. Like my body was like tingling all over, you know, and it's not something that I'm choosing. It's just happening from like being from witnessing this, and also witnessing a brother who's leading a team, because he is like, I think he is the leader out there, and I think Luca is too, but I think it's like he is a spiritual like conduit, and he is like his structure is what is allowing the team to really integrate into this new era of competition. And so I think that it's just been so powerful to watch their process, because it's been so inspiring for me as a basketball lover and a former basketball player, and just it's it's brought me new life, man. I never thought that I could ever, you know, say that or attribute anything like that to sports, but this year it has given me like new life, and it's really reawakened some purpose in me, and I never would have expected it. But I've had some deep experiences watching games, like profound, you know, DMT, like my body's like tingling all over and I'm feeling super connected and I'm crying and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like watching a basketball game. You know what I mean? But it's the highest level of artistry in the world as an athlete, you know, in the NBA. And so it's just, it's powerful to watch a man who is explicitly referencing God on the free throw line. Every time he shoots a free throw, he looks up and he says, "Thank you, God," every single time he shoots a free throw. And
Kyrie
this,
led.
yes, and you see it come out of his mouth, and it's on TV. You know, like this man is at the altar at all times,
Wow. Got chills.
and so it to me it just it's he's been a guide for me. He's been a teacher for me this year, even from a distance, and so it's so interesting that I found my teacher, and maybe I didn't come into the world to play basketball. Maybe I came into the world to develop a love for it, and then to find this node of guidance at this moment in time in my life when I've been going through a dark night of the soul, and to help him help pull me out of it, you know, like, and it's been tremendous. I will not diminish the contribution that this has made in my like recovery, my like heart, mind, and body and spirit. It's been a big facet of it. So that's
Awesome.
yeah. Yeah, thanks to the boys. And they're fun
Man,
shit to watch too. They're incredible. It's fun.
they are. They are. Man, everything you just said is like the most up to speed, up to date articulation of like athletic, not even just athletic, but like basketball, shamanic wisdom, and how it really does translate to like in a film like Spike Lee's He Got Game. And like these are characters in the world is basketball, but like that world that they're in when they're playing doesn't stop energetically when they go back to normal life. And this is that sadhana that allows them to have poise and self-esteem or confidence or self-gnosis in the quote unquote outside world or off the court world. And then I saw on your, yeah, on your, I finished my sadhana this morning. I did my cold plunge and look some weights and some squats and push-ups and intensity. And then I kind of soak in hot water and let transmissions come and sit upright and maybe send some texts and let stuff come, and got this ping of like, oh, I gotta go on Instagram and get this thing. And your story, I saw, you know, it's not every day I don't see your story, but saw it click first the Mick Gee thing. Mick
Yeah,
Gee is almost an interesting parallel to
sure.
Kyrie in terms of his servantry to others worlds and facilitation of this really mystical sounding, you know, spiritual fluidity, but like in a modern pop landscape.
Right.
And then yeah, your story had that, and then it had this Kyrie commercial for his. You might know more than I. I went onto the website and looked for the first time, and because I have some type of foot injury, and I got these Trey Young shoes, and they feel great to put on. They got this great ankle support, but then I tie them tight, and it's like where the shoestring goes on my front of my, it's the top shoestring on the left side of my right foot. So it's the top left on the inside of my right foot. And for whatever reason, that bone there is just like really sensitive. So I've been looking into other shoes, like what's another shoe that would be comfy? And then I saw that. I was like, wow. I mean, when you put on a shoe, you really do kind of feel like that person that maybe you don't know the guy. Maybe you don't, have naive or ignorance around the person's who shoe design and whatever. But like want to be like my that's the whole, the idea. Me and Hassan were talking about the other day, like one of the reasons why Ye is so special amongst all his dichotomy is, well, one, he should have sold those stronger glasses. The fact that he never sold those is like big L. But he probably figured that out afterwards and was like, all right, every time I do a merch piece that's connected to a performance moment, that's a it's like a no-brainer merch,
Sure.
The and then Hassan was like, the thing that Mike never did was Mike never sold the glove. And I was like, man, that's a crazy statement. Or the red jacket, like Prince, I don't know what Prince's would have been for something purple, but with a with someone like Kyrie that is obvious in lineage of Mike and that ferociousness. And I think you're right. He does kind of feel like a spiritual leader, even if everybody's not really in doubt. Luca's like a God touched. Like, I didn't know he was such a prodigy. I just saw this video. I was talking about he was in 13, 14, 15 years old, globally scouted. And then he started playing Euro League when he's like 16 or something like that
Yeah.
and balling. And then the Oklahoma City, the Thunder, for some reason, had like an overseas game. And it was like an off-season game or something. They played this Euro team that Luca was on. And he's 16 and he's playing against the Thunder.
Yeah.
Slaying,
Smoking them. Yeah.
smoking them. Oh, it was Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban's talking about this whole process. And I didn't know about all that. I think that's similar to you. I kind of disconnected from basketball for a while. First love, how I met hip hop, et cetera, et cetera. But then, yeah, the yogic journey happened and kind of just disconnected from that. And I think health in a healthy way, because there's like a 9 out of 10 courts you go to, there's gonna be a lot of ignorant aggression,
Yeah.
type of stuff. And to come back to that court, that rectangle, after having this kind of, yeah, yogic non-dual integration, it's what an amazing place to meditate in motion, to bring sadhana into this place that's not necessarily a topic or a concept, which again, for individuals like these who have partaken in this mystical path to then go back into the mainstream world, someone like a McGee sounds like they've touched the mystical. Someone like a Kyrie looks like he's not doing something muggle vibes. It's a mystical, someone's been touched. And then you see this trailer. I didn't know about all the 11s. Did you know about all the 11s?
No, but it makes a lot of sense. Like in hearing about.
That's nuts.
And the question that he's asked about, the question that he poses at the end is like, is he an enlightened like warrior? Like, is this dude?
That's what the
Is
name of the shoe is called too, Enlightened Warrior.
and so it's like, yeah, it's really bringing to the forefront the true nature of like what all this stuff is about, and that there is no material without spirit, and the spirit is the vehicle for the material, and it's not the other way around. And so I think that that's a really profound thing that we're witnessing in so many different facets of culture and stuff like right now. And like when you bring up McGee, um, and this is a consideration that I've had pretty recently too, where a friend, sort of shamanic type, around here in LA, was given an interview and was talking to a guy about medicine music and about medicine songs, and like in the ayahuasca tradition and Shipibo tradition and that sort of a thing, which is incredibly beautiful, incredibly powerful music. And at the same time, there is a there is a disconnect from people that don't have or desire that experience to be able to connect in a deep way with the music. And what how brilliant for God or for McGee or like Mike Gordon's spirit to choose to arrive as this prodigious, popular music producer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, because the most shamanic thing that you could do was get in the water of popular music and present a mystical, a subtle mystical idiom to people that don't really even know that they're perceiving that. And what a better way to like influence and shape and move through a massive, like a multitude of people have considered this style of music or this process to be like the way. And so this deeply spiritual kid who may not even really know some of the concepts that we're talking about, and that have been studied, but it's just an embodiment of that. Like I truly believe him to be like an avatar, like a realized being that came here to spread this kind of gift. Because I mean, he's Prince level. He's like the next thing. He's the one. And so it's like in him and Kai, there are so many parallels because Kyrie he's displaying and showcasing his this wildly unbelievable ability to manipulate time and space with his body, and yet he's doing it in a way that's like, this is not about me, this is about like my father, like my creator, like my teacher, and I am just a vessel for that thing. And when you have guys like McGee and like Kyrie and lots of other people, you cannot deny that that is the truth. You can't like it may not be the truth for everybody, but it's the truth for this man who's playing better basketball than anyone in the world right now. And for Mike, who is exemplifying something that he may not even fully understand yet, but that is an example of the mystery, and that I think that that's a product of the elevation of consciousness on this planet in general. It's not going to come in the form of some dude that's playing a guitar and singing about angels and stuff like that. That's just not how it's going to work because it's too obvious. That's not paradoxical enough for the universe or for God or for the mystery. Then it's not a puzzle. It's like, what the hell is going on? This is a basketball player that's giving me like Shakti. You know what I mean? Like from the other side of the camera that's watching him. Like it's going to bound to come in these really confounding ways. And I think that's kind of what I'm learning. And I'm really learning that, they are truly willing to sacrifice like dubs for building the strength and character of everyone on their team. Because at the end of the day, in the playoffs, when they're both getting doubled and the ball needs to go somewhere, if they haven't been, integrating trust and faith and like encouragement into the people that really need that, then they're not going to make the shots that they need to make that count. They're not going to make the right plays. They're going to be too caught up in their shame or their lack of confidence in their own ability to move. And so like it's just been a worldly teaching, watching them share the basketball and really like watching the evolution of these players' confidence in their own games. And it's just like it's been so special because like we're all a part of the same thing. And I feel like the Mavericks in some very strange way are the equilibration of the non-dual thing that we're trying to experience, which is that like everything has to equalize before we can realize as a species, as a universal species that's informed, like everything has to be equilibrated so that we can all move back into the Father. And I think that that's a great analogy for like people that are operating this really high level and people that are operating at a lower vibrational level, but that like they're bringing each other into balance, and like sort of watching that happen on this team, and then seeing the team as this organism that is just so powerful and I think has a chance to win a title, this year. It's just been such a wild spiritual teaching that I never thought that I'd get from basketball, and or from McGee, or from any or from anyone, you know. It's just it's been such a wild experience to feel like this about sports. Could have never planned it.
No, that's what adds and contributes to it feeling so special. It's like I didn't see this coming.
Yeah, no question.
People, man. Well said. You were about to just say this offline, and I was like, wait a minute. I think you're about to. Some Kyrie's gonna bring up some good stuff, so I'm glad we jumped.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah, man. I've been watching highlights pretty actively, and then maybe I should get that stream link you're talking about
I'll
because
send you I'll send you the link today.
I saw they were playing, I forgot who it was recently, but like they were live, but I don't have TV, and like all I have is like a YouTube and stream and stuff and Hulu. I was like, where can I watch it? I was like, YouTube has an NBA pass, and I think it's like $12. And I was like, fuck it. So I bought that, and now I can see all NBA games, which is fun, but maybe I should get your thing. But so I'll put that on sometimes. But yeah, the highlights by themselves are,
Yeah.
man, so special. And just, I mean, last closing point, which might not end up being a closing point, but Kyrie's game almost feels like more like hard work and skill. But see, it's so tricky to even begin to try to say it because Luca is so not like any other archetype of a player that I've ever personally seen. And Kyrie somehow is. Kyrie's almost like, yeah, I've seen that. Like I've seen someone work and like the defender's still on you. And then you do another move and you get a little bit of space and then a step back and they're even still in your face and you hit it and you're jumping high and you're fading and your athleticism, your quickness, and your footwork, it all. And what is Kai? 6'3",
It's
6'4", like
two,
six
something.
two, 6'2" even. Yeah, he's a, with Braun, he's a point guard, pretty straightforward. And now these years later, after Cavs, after Brooklyn, after where she was on Boston for a second. Now he's in this pure shooting guard role, whereas Luca is a 6'8" point guard, almost true point guard, but he's really a three. He's really a small forward. But Luca's game is so, never seen anything like it. The way that he plays with spacing and angles and the jerkiness, it is like the evolution of the game. Whereas Kyrie's almost feels like the perfection of the Western game. It's not new though. It's like perfect, which is almost why it's crazy to see them on the same team because it's like Van Gogh and Da Vinci are both like but it's not necessarily an apprentice and the teacher. Kai's not that much older, but it is different renditions of a ultimate score archetype.
Yeah, and that's why it works. And I think you see Kyrie like in his ability to, well, I mean, I guess one of my favorite things about Kai is he's also, I guess the similarity between he and Luca is that they are both sneaky players. Like you see, like
Mm.
Kyrie will go down the floor very nonchalantly, very poised, very slowly, and then all of a sudden he turns on gas and he can change direction on a dime. He's got a handle, he can keep a dribble going 2 inches off the floor if he needs to. And but then you like, and he's able to hang in the air. Like he doesn't have a big vertical, but like he can hang in the air and he knows how to work with time space in a way that a lot of people don't. And I think he has this sort of confidence and clarity with his ability that you don't ever see him second guess anything. Even if he makes a bad decision, he never is unsure about the decision that he makes. I mean, he might be
I,
the wrong.
I I just saw a clip of a highlight in the past day or so, and he did his thing. It was the dude from the Heat, high tower, some good defender on the Heat, and Kai did his thing right at the top right of the key, and dude peeled him. And
Yep.
I see Kai look back and kind of had a moment, and then the next play comes down and does another version of it
Yeah.
and gets it. So it's
Yeah.
he's such a I don't know. It's almost like the pure everyday man's, icon for you don't need to have all the. basically you don't need to be Luca. You can still go out there and get it. Luca's kind of like, I don't even know who could feel like him. Like you just got to be God touched and like
But he's also got a weird game in an interesting way too, because you look at his body, man. Like I saw him running.
Luca.
Yeah, I ran across he ran across to pick up Kai off the floor. There's like a
I
highlight.
saw that.
You
They
can
put
see
that in the highlight reel.
to see his belly, man. Like he's a
Yeah, he's
chubby
not
dude,
super
you know what
fit.
I'm saying? Like, and my thing is like he's got a really interesting body type too, which looks like he doesn't really spend much time in the gym. He's not like trying to get strong. He's not like, I mean, he probably is really strong,
Probably is, yeah.
but he's just like he again just like doesn't play around with his ability to do what he needs to do, and he doesn't ever doubt the decisions that he makes. It's like it's confidence, and it's like I'm learning that that is maybe the most important thing that you can have in any vocation is just your ability to fully believe in what you're doing and own your mistakes, not shy away from them, not be ashamed of them, not whatever. But Luca will pull up from 40 feet, and hit jumpers, like pull up from
Crazy.
the emblem, like out, and like
I feel like that's rubbing off on Kai. I feel like I've seen Kai do shots that like you were shooting those that way before Luca.
nope. And you watch Kai's pull up too, like is so confident in transition too. Like he'll shake three defenders and just shoot a three at the top of the key in transition, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and and with so much confidence and square, and his body is just, like you can see that he is fully like locked in on the trajectory of his decision making process.
I
And
heard I heard an announcer say it confidently. There he goes again, Kyrie Irving. Probably it sounds like most people are agreeing now, the most skilled, or if not one of the most skilled players of all time. And it
ever,
seems wild, but it seems like everyone's saying that. And then I saw Allen Iverson and Shaq, they were talking, they did a pod, and I think AI, if I'm not mistaken, AI said Kai is like the most skilled handler
ever. Yeah.
all time. And it's like, wow, that's
Braun said it too. Braun, like Damian Lillard posted that,
man,
like
that
he posted that like Kyrie is the most skilled motherfucker ever, and Braun commented like ever, like
yeah,
exclamation point. It's crazy.
wild. Have you
So,
been watching? Have you been watching the Braun JJ pod?
I watched some of it. JJ asked some really really interesting questions, and it's fun to listen to him talk about the game because he really knows
He's
he
super sharp.
schematics of the game, and he knows, and he had to because that was his body type, his build, his like approach is he needed to know, he needed to have a really high basketball IQ, and he does. And I
Yeah.
love hearing him talk to the great players about hoops, man. He's
He has
really,
a funny pod with before this one with Braun. He on his own. He had Luke on,
yeah, I
and
saw some of
there's
that.
this super cute moment where I forgot how it entered into it, but Luca JJ was something saying like it's such a good entrance. Insert clip here. Yeah, he's like, JJ says to Luke, he's like, I was playing against you guys, and and I had to get my shots. I was shooting. I was mostly a shooter, and Luca, super almost knowing exactly knowing, not almost exactly knowing how funny he is by his like kind of super chill demeanor. What he's like says to JJ, he's like, yeah, only shooting, and JJ's like, oh, you said only? He's like, yeah, like only, like you were only shooting, and JJ got the hint, which is like someone like a JJ's, you're just shooting, you're a shooter. Someone like a Luca is basically like doing the shooting thing kind of better, or at least statistically, but also all the other things. And just it's like up here now. And it was this cute, funny moment where JJ kind of like he's not going to deny who Luca is. He'll be the first one to admit it. But it was like a funny moment where Luca's like, relax. You were just doing that. Like I'm over here doing these things. Let's just take a quick moment to recognize that. And Luca and JJ's like, I'm not saying that I'm over there with you anyway, but yes, I was over here doing this. But to your point, it does, I think, you look at JJ's career and he was so precise in how he'd have to get the curls off the picks. And
Yeah,
he was laser beam shooter, and it's kind of now how he's approaching the game of podcasting and discussing. I don't feel like basketball was being talked about like this from such a player yet coach-esque savvy, really nice articulation, clips, showing the clipboard, breaking down terms. Like it's kind of the evolution of the discussion of basketball is happening this year also.
yeah. No, it's a wonderful time for the game, man. And I think that we have some of the best players in history playing in the league, and there are a lot of them. And so it really is exciting, and I think that one thing in witnessing the Mavs this year and watching Luka's game is that I think he will eventually have to start doing some more training, like start doing some more like weight training and stuff. And if he does get to a place where he's shedding some pounds and like, because I mean, you know, he's got issues with his knees and his Achilles and stuff like that. That's from weight displacement issues, and
Right, right.
I think that he will eventually need to sort of take his frame a little bit more seriously. And when he does start to do that kind of training, dude, it's scary what he's going to be
Scares.
able, because he's
Like
26.
that's crazy. He's only 26.
He's a boy. You know, like
Who are like one or two other players in the league that you are, other than these two we've been talking about, really inspired by
uh,
or excited about?
I can't remember Austin Reeves from the Lakers. I really love his game a lot. I think he's got a really cool. He reminds me a little bit of Steve Nash and his ability to
Right.
move and handle and like and finish and stuff like that. I like his game a lot. Um, I like Jalen Brunson.
Man, he's sharp. He's fun.
He's fun to watch, and I also think that he's kind of still a renegade at this point in his career, and he talks a lot of shit when he's on the floor, and he's talking shit to the fans, and he's like blowing kisses to everybody, and like I'd like to see his game. I'd like to see his personality, like like find a little bit more rhythm and focus, but that is none of my business. He's a great basketball player, and he's got really, really amazing ability to make really wild, hard shots and to
Yeah.
to change direction with his body and stuff and stay low to the ground. And it's really fun to watch him handle the basketball. It's great.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Warriors, the Warriors right now, I think are the scariest team like the most intimidating team in basketball at the moment because like
Really?
they're playing well again and like they gave the Mavs a run. I mean, they beat them one night, and then they almost beat them second night. Like Clay missed a three. It wasn't the Mavs didn't handle them. So I think when they're playing well and when they're shooting the basketball well, like when they're hitting threes and
And
that
Draymond's still
yeah, they're scary, dude. They are still a very scary basketball team, and I think they may probably come out of the play-in tournament and do some damage in the playoffs. So I love watching Steph because he's another one that's touched, and he's um, he's
super.
got one of the smoothest games in the history of in the history of basketball. And
JJ and Braun went into a whole pocket about like undeniably like Steph changed the game hard stop. Like
he did.
his entrance into the culture, the reason why Kyrie and Luka are shooting those ones is because Steph normalized it to a certain degree.
That's right. Yeah. No, I fully agree. I mean, that's why the NBA is now a three-point oriented offensive system these days.
Changed.
I mean, everybody just hangs out on the perimeter and tries to get open looks from three, and that's why we see 150-point games sometimes. Like, but people were like, we got to be able to deal with that. We got to be able to like compete with that. So
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the way that shooting drills and training has changed in the last 10 years because of Steph Curry's.
Yeah, I wonder what it'd be like if you like went into a coma for 10 years and you were like a devout basketball head and you woke up now and you're like, what kind of evolution is this?
Right.
One person that every time I watch, I just feel like he's the real deal is Jason Tatum. Just feels
Yeah.
like
Yeah, he's got.
he just feels like a sword for God on the court. And his choice making, his maturity, his athleticism. That's someone where I feel like if Luca was in that kind of shape, then it'd be a no question. But I'm interested in that measurement of the kind of hierarchy choices of MVP candidates, and they're saying like Luca. Oh no, let me Google that real quick because I think last time I checked, I was surprised by Luca's low placement.
Like 3 or 4 or something like that.
Um, and like Joel Embiid got hurt. Uh, yeah, there's like a meter. There's like a really cool meter that showed. Yeah, so oh yeah, Shy Gilgis Alexander. He's wild.
Killing. Yeah, he's killing. He's wild. He's a great ball player, man.
Oh, this is a cool list. So I think we should do this. So you can see this, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got kind of the obvious first pick, which is crazy because he's already got two, but Joker's number one, 26, 12, and 9. That's just nutty.
Yeah, it's crazy for sure.
Shy is second, which is interesting because he's 35 and 6. But if you watch him, I've only watched a little of his game, but he's oh yeah, it does say that. Literally, it's a tough decision with everything that Luke is doing. But I feel like it's a tricky description because look at Luca's numbers. 33, 9, and 9. That is so bonkers
Yeah, it's on the verge of averaging a triple double every game, dude.
every game. And then the fact that Giannis is shows you how crazy skilled Luca is.
But like the thing too about Luca's positioning, it completely nullifies and is not looking at the fact that like he pulled his team from like where were they like 9 in the Western Conference standings to
Luca,
a 50 win season, dude. Like they are a legitimate contender for a title, and like they weren't that before the All-Star break. You know what I'm saying? Like they hit the trade deadline and they picked up a squad, but he has like carried that team on his back, man. And like they're gonna bust ass in the playoffs for sure, no question.
but where do you put Kyrie's involvement in that playoff advancement?
I mean, I think that they obviously wouldn't be the team that they are without Kai. And at the same time, you know, like the reason that Kyrie's thing works where it does is because of what Luca does on the floor. And, you know, like I think that's maybe the most important part of the whole conversation is that like these teams were built around him, you know, like this team was built to support his game initially, and it's turned into something else. But like he has truly been truly been a revolutionary in the league this year. Like so revolutionary, man.
Cross court.
Yeah, I don't know
Back.
if I don't know if Joker affects the game as much. I mean, that's so tricky to say because he obviously does. But in terms of scoring, in terms of the, I just feel like there's a defensive up level that if Luca stepped into a defensive prominence,
Right.
it would kind of be the end of the conversation. But I think that's the place where you're saying that his he has like a kind of lax or slightly relaxed a defensive posture, it seems like. I've seen him hustle, so I don't want it to come across that he's not completely in it, but oh my God.
But his body is not like really his body is not really suited to play really hard defense night in and night out. Like that's not where they need him. And a really interesting stat is like the issue with the Mavericks initially this year and like after the trade deadline initially is that they could not play defense. Like they can score, but like after over the last 16 games, they're the number one defense in the NBA, bro. They are
Who the man?
the Mavericks. They held the Heat to under 100 points, and like
Well,
They
that was
are,
this.
yeah, but they are the number one defense in the NBA right now. And so it's like without Luca involved in this, none of it works. None of it is even like a functioning system. Like Kai can't do that lifting on his own, and
Oh.
it's been obvious that Luca can't get to a championship level without somebody like Kyrie in the game because you've got to have a backbone. But like they also have an offensive structure where Kai kind of kind of hangs out while the offense is run off of Luca and vice versa. You know, like they kind of know the roles that they need to play and have taken a really selfless, seemingly selfless approach to playing basketball. And you don't get a lot of that with star players. You don't get a lot of that where it's just like Kyrie's just like looking at him like, cook, bro, like do your thing. Like I don't
And there's
need.
been and I've heard some criticism that as a long time kind of structure to rely on that much one-on-one offense is questionable. But if they keep winning like this, it's like go ahead, question it all you want. If these two dudes are doing 60 points a game, on average, like
Right,
can't really question much. Now,
right,
if they don't keep winning, then it will be questioned and kind of looked, and turn, taken apart. But I
right.
feel like they have like when I see the Celtics team, it seems deep and
Yeah, they're stacked.
sturdy. And yeah, and I feel like there's a couple of really good defensive players on the Mavs, but I feel like they might need one more dude who's like, a third scoring option. And like you said about Exum, like he has the potential to head in that direction, but it doesn't feel like he's got that star kind of, quality. Even how the Warriors have Chris Paul coming off the bench, which is a nutty sentence, but it creates that feeling that even when their second team comes out and that has Chris Paul, that's got uh, Gary Payton Jr., that's got that their second squad is strong.
Yeah, for sure. For sure,
Phoenix,
yeah.
not even Phoenix doesn't have that, even though they have a two dudes. Oh, that's a good example. They have these two strong, obviously Durant and Book, but they got uh Beal. What's his name? Mike Beal? Michael Beal?
Yeah, I think
Bradley Beal? Something like that. Beal,
Bradley.
yeah, Bradley Beal. He's a cool third option. And I feel like they might have one other guy. I feel like if Dallas had somebody like that, I can't really think of who would be good right now, but
Well, I think what you've got going on is you've got, and you've sort of watched the evolution of this squad. Like what you have now, you have PJ Washington who's getting rhythm with his jumper, and he's like, and he's a great. I mean, he's been hitting some big shots for them. The other thing too that is not really being looked at is you've got Daniel Gafford who's down there, and he's like,
he's
he's
killing
made,
it.
he's made 22 field goals in a row, and then before that he made 33 in a row. Like he's not. He's shooting like the highest field goal percentage in the NBA, and he's a dominant force in the post. And so, like, if they need to start structuring their offense in a way where they're trying to set, some screens and pick and rolls and like have him moving like to the basket, he's a scary option. And I think that between PJ and Dante Exum, that they're great shot makers. And if you think about what, from my perspective, like what's happening with their offense, is that when you have an offense that is like basically like a four-man offense, like where Kyrie is literally just sort of hanging out on the perimeter watching sometimes. I mean, you can watch these highlights and you can just sort of see Kai's body positioning. He'll just be sort of, if Luka's running the offense, he'll just kind of stand in the corner and watch the game. And if you think about what's actually happening in those scenarios, bro, like one of their star players is basically getting rest while the offense
Right.
is running. And so that by the time like they split the time of like in the initially Luca comes out and starts firing and starts busting ass and like sometimes has 27 points in the first half. But Kyrie's been resting and watching the game the whole time. And then fourth quarter when they need him, he can take over because he's got energy. And so like I don't think people are really attributing enough of that as literally as a method for keeping their homie like in the game, and especially with the defense that the Mavs are able to play now. Um, they're really scary, man. And I think that that's the test. It'll be the Nuggets again, probably,
Right.
and hopefully in the finals, Boston. And I just think that I think that we'll probably end up either facing the Warriors or the Nuggets in the finals. I think the Warriors are going to make a big Western Conference run. That's just my opinion of watching their hooping recently, and they're the only team in the league that I really am excited about watching them play, other than the Mavericks at the moment. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I think they have a really functional scheme, dude, and I think that they've got a bunch of guys who can contribute it when they need to, which is maybe the most important part of it. And they can also like not necessarily be focal points in the film room and be surprising additions to the night when they're needed, you know? So I think that's really cool. And they're a big squad, dude. They're a
Yeah.
big team. So it's so exciting, man.
Yeah. Gafford is he's so sturdy down there.
He's a beast, bro. He's such a beast. And he defends so well, man. And he just like bodies up and they're not fouling a lot. And, it's crazy. They've got a game today, actually. They're playing today. I think they're playing Detroit and they'll probably run through Detroit. Then they have to play OKC as the last game of the season. And it'll be a telltale. I mean, if they run the whole squad for that game, they may rest Luka or something.
Right.
But But yeah, even like watching Denver, like when we talk about the MVP consideration, like Jokic has what's his name?
Great.
Jamal Murray. Yeah, dude, and he's a savage, bro. Like he's one of the best players in basketball right now. And
He's
that's
the
gotta be
he's the
considered
second
too.
off.
Yeah, and he's a beast, dude. He's insane. He's such an insane IQ and such great like motion and direction control and just like he's a freak, dude. So I think
Yeah.
Luca's not getting the props he deserves, but that's not new for this team and for the people on it, like that's what we were talking about initially in the podcast is that like through the whole process, people have been doubting them and they are playing the best basketball in the world right now. And it's the same thing that people used to say about Jordan. They're like, you can't play defense. And then he came back the next season and got defensive MVP of the league. So it's like I hope people keep talking shit, and I hope that they keep them motivated to keep playing good basketball because I think they can win it all if they really really work. But the Celtics are going to give them hell if they play for sure.
The other dude that I love watching, I said Jason Tatum, another dude I love watching. And I haven't watched enough to really have a super, super thorough perspective, but I love watching Ant-Man. Um,
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah,
Anthony
dude.
Edwards. He's kind of like a video game,
Yeah,
but
he's insane, dude. He's
but I feel like their guy that went out, Carl Anthony Towns, he's like a super key piece for them having like a real shot because Rudy Gobert down there is obviously top level defender, and I think he's in like top defender of the year type of running. But I think those you'll see in a game like this, they really miss Carl Anthony Towns because the Nuggets have Portis Jr. What's the other guy's name? Uh, with the headband.
number 50.
Gordon, yeah.
Yeah, and he
Aaron
and
Gordon.
he and Jokic have a really great relationship. Him cutting to the basket and Jokic is one of the best passers in the history of basketball, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
I,
insane.
I just saw this clip, JJ talking about Jokic basically brought in, if I understand what JJ was saying correctly, basically brought in the whole new concept of court mapping because Joker would have somehow this new level of court awareness and some like a map in his head of where everybody is kind of at all points. It's like just the highest level of court awareness that's ever happened.
And also just like knowing their schemes, like the back of his hand, with no doubt, like knowing, like seeing things happen before they do, kind of a thing, like because he knows their scheme so well.
Right.
Yeah, it's really powerful to watch him pass the basketball. It's just like their basketball is not the style of basketball that I'm like the most excited about, you know. And
Who?
the Nuggets, I
Yeah,
really like
no.
Jamal Murray's like ISO, but they're super effective, man. They're just like really efficient basketball team. They're fantastic. But yeah, like Anthony Edwards, dude, that shit is insane. Like his
He-
that dunk he had where he broke his finger, like he jumped out of the gym, dude. It was maybe one of the most insane things I've ever seen in hoops,
Ever.
ever. Other
He
than, go ahead.
no, no, I was gonna say he's the closest to Jordan I've seen in a minute.
He's a nut, dude.
What are you gonna say? Other than what?
Other than Luca's game winner over Joker, because I think that's probably the hardest game winning shot that's ever been made in the NBA. I think it's the most miraculous thing that's ever happened in basketball. Can you see that again? Run that one back.
He broke his
He
finger?
was, yeah, he broke his finger on the rim on that dunk. You see that? Woo! Like, come on, bro. God.
The leg that catches him is so strong.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, he's just it's just a pillar. So crazy.
That's
That's
just a
that's on some Vince Carter shit. I was watching some Vince Carter highlights the other day.
oh man.
That's some of the craziest shit that's ever happened in basketball too. Like Vince was a madman.
It was nuts.
And he had a jumper too. He just got put in, he just got made it to the Hall of Fame this year.
That's
Right,
great.
rightfully so, obviously. But
I love seeing people's reactions when this guy's like, man, I just want a poster, bro. I love seeing people's reactions on crazy moments like this.
yeah, yeah, he got dude jumped over him basically. And like you see the momentum that he had, and he even got stopped in midair. Like it's like dude jumped into his body and stopped him, and he still had enough momentum to finish. That's just that's insane.
It's on his left hand. So it almost looks like he comes down on his own hand.
Let's see what happened. I think the ball hit it maybe.
So boom. So it's a right hand up, left hand,
I think
throws the ball through the
I
freaking
think the
hoop.
ball hits it.
Yeah, it looks like it goes
Yeah,
bonk right there.
yeah. Ooh, ouch.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, dude. It's
Dunk of the decade.
so inspiring.
In the locker room afterwards, can you imagine? The dunk of the decade. Yeah, yeah. Nuts.
Ugh. Yeah, that's so scary, man.
Crazy. Well, I'm seeing next moments of Dharma kicking in. I feel like we should do play video on screen, have conversation like this more often.
Yeah, I would love that. Great.
A fun
Just
format.
talking about interests and things that are stirring the imagination.
Yeah, bring it up.
Yeah,
See it. Cool,
would love
man.
that.
Appreciate you, bro. Love you, and so much more very soon.
Yeah, brother. Much love.
Awesome. To be continued.